In the previous video, John Erwin presented activities that helped participants explore the meaning of basic needs and the implications these needs have for the classroom. As the participants discovered, students' genetic instructions are to seek a safe, orderly environment, to feel a sense of belonging, to be free of coercion, and to have fun. In this program, John will present strategies that teachers can use to make their classrooms need-satisfying. If we do not provide the opportunities for students to meet their needs with appropriate behavior, they will become frustrated and look to other irresponsible ways to get their needs met. Now we rejoin the workshop as the participants complete their discussion on the implications of the basic needs.
Okay. Any comments, insights, questions before we move on? Yes?
When you have 25 kids in your room and you have 5, 5, 5, and 5, I know it's perfect, but how do you balance to meet all those needs, get the structure for this group, but the freedom for this group? And
what I do is teach the kids about their needs. I teach them about their needs and I talk about my approach. And I say, you know, we have different types in here. We have love and belonging people, we've got freedom, power, so forth. And I said, my job is to try to make everybody happy some of the time. So you may not, some of the choices may be too much for you, but that's okay because I also have structure. That sometimes I will just tell you what to do, you know, not give you so much freedom. So it's about balance, it's about knowing your kids, it's about having a common language so the kids will know that what their needs are and they can understand why some things appeal to them and some don't. It's also great to understand where your motivation comes from all your life. The next book I have coming out is called Inspiring the Best in Students. It's about teaching them the social and emotional skills that they're going to need to be academically successful and also successful in life. If you're gifted academically but are weak or even crippled emotionally or socially, you're not going to be as successful. Any one of those, you know, little dimensions of the human being, social, emotional, or social, emotional, academic, intellectual, or even physical, if any of those are not developed, you're not going to be a fully developed human being. So I don't have an easy answer. I think sometimes Montessori goes a little too far with the choices, and so you got to keep that in mind when you're working with your kids. Know your kids. Teach these things to the kids, and maybe even have a kid-friendly assessment that they could take so that you can understand them better. First, in kindergarten and first graders probably can't really understand the idea of the internal profile, but they can understand the idea of the needs, and there's lots of ways of tying that into the curriculum. You can teach the kids the needs and then read a story and say, what need do you think this character was trying to meet through their behavior? What need was this character trying to meet through their behavior? Were they successful? Were they responsible? You know, the book, Hello, Little Ant, do you know that book? You know, there's this kid standing there with an ant, and he's thinking, at the end of the book, he's deciding whether he's going to crush the ant or not. So there's all sorts of opportunities to talk about the needs that might be met through various choices in the kid's behavior. You can always tie it into curriculum. Kids could write about how they meet their needs. They could talk about it. They could bring in little bags of, I call them bago needs. Every kid goes home with a little brown bag. They write their name, you know, Johnny's Bago Needs. They go home and they fill it up with little items from home or photographs from home that they use to meet their needs. They come in and do a little presentation, maybe one need a day in a class meeting, where they get to know each other. And they start developing a little empathy, you know, at least understanding. And understanding other people can lead to empathy and acceptance and empathy and eventually compassion. So it just gives you, and it also gives you a common language. So. Other comments or questions, insights? Yes?
Okay. Thinking through this, the first question I'm going to get from a second grade teacher is how do I go about discovering students' needs? And then their response could be, you know, you need to know your children, obviously. However, we were talking about some of the people that we know in the room. I was really surprised about where they ended up when they identified their needs. So we can't make those assumptions. So do you have an inventory that you created for an elementary level? Or?
There's a couple of teachers I'm working with right now that are doing that. They're developing it for a 3rd and 4th grade level. If you email me, I can get it from them and send it to you. And my email information is in the packet, but I have cards up here if you're interested. Or you could do it yourself. You could just take these words and simplify them a little bit for kids. You could just use change the descriptions that I have to fit children instead of adults. Instead of saying my friends, family, and coworkers like me because blanky blank, you could just say my friends, family like me because, and develop your own. Or you could just, even simpler, which of these photographs, have a photograph that represents love and belonging, a couple people or a group of kids together sharing, or kids fight or playing on a soccer field or for power, freedom, running on the beach or something, and say which one of these just appeals to you the most, and kind of assess. But understand that they all have all 5 needs. Another thing is, if you're going to do something like that with kids, explain to them that it's important that we don't get into needs bashing, Oh, those power people, the stick in the mud survival people. There's those disgusting love and belonging people. It just want to make me throw up. You got to understand that we all have all 5 needs, and that we all need all these different types of people. The survival people help us stay grounded and organized. Love and belonging people keep us together. Power people drive us. Freedom people, give us creative ideas. Fun people just lighten up the atmosphere. So we need all 5, and we can use those needs to, or understanding those needs to just appreciate the differences, not to, it's looking at internal diversity. When we think of diversity, we always think of ethnic diversity, religious diversity, gender diversity, but this is an internal diversity that's just as important. I did a training, I've been working for 3 years with a school in Dearborn, Michigan, which is 80% Islamic, 10% African American, and 10% just mixed. And we did this activity with them. They were high school kids, and middle school kids, and they could do this assessment easily. And it was really neat to see them. And when we processed it, one of the kids said, what's really interesting is this white kid said, it's really interesting that I have more in common with this kid who's a refugee from Iraq than I do with some of my own friends. With some of the kids that I hang around, or some of my boys, he called them. Some of my boys, kind of the kids that he hangs around with. And it helps us get past the superficial differences and get to some of the important similarities that we share underneath the skin. Okay, moving right along. The premise again is if we are really intentional about creating a need-satisfying environment in the classroom, then we can teach. Then we can really build relationships, and we can engage kids, and they're going to be much more likely to want to learn what we have to teach them and to behave responsibly. If we're not intentional about it and it's just by chance, then behavior is going to be kind of by chance. So you already know a lot about addressing these needs. You already know a lot about it. So what we're going to do now is called graffiti. You see the posters around the room. You're going to be in a small group, and each small group is going to have a marker. So one group might start off here at the survival poster. Your job is to write down all the specific classroom practices that would address the need for survival, safety, order, and the physical needs. So you might write down, have a clear way of having your heading on your paper, something like that. Then rotate after about 2 minutes at each poster. You'll come over to the belonging poster and you say, what can I do to address the belonging need in the classroom? Through management, through activities, and through instruction that build teacher-student relationships as well as student-student relationships. Then you'll rotate over to the power poster. What can you do in the classroom? What specificity is the key? Actually, I think this might be better on the table. To help kids achieve, be recognized, and how can we give kids a voice in the classroom? Again, within limits. This is all within structure, within limits. Then you'd come over to the freedom poster. What choices can I give students? And how can I insert some novelty into the classroom? And then over here, what can we do for fun? And then there's a second batch back here that goes along there, and then it goes over on the door for fun. So each group, there'll be about 5 people in each group. You'll rotate 5 times, so you'll get to each poster once. What I like to do, and I haven't checked this out with Glenna yet, is usually after we do this, we'll collect these things, have them typed up and distributed to people. Could I promise to do that? Okay, so you'll get everybody else's list. This gives you an opportunity to learn from each other, to see that to validate what you're already doing, and get some new ideas. Does that sound like fun? Yeah. So enthused! Does that sound like fun? Okay. Now, this time I need you to count off by tens. Not 10, 20, 30, 40, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Same way we did it before. Go!
2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3.
Don't forget your numbers. Right, on your mark, grab a marker. on your mark, get set. 1s, 2s. Look at that. 3s at the power poster over here. 4s at the freedom poster. 5 at the fun. 6 at the survival. 7 at belonging. 8 at power. 9 at freedom. And 10 at the door for fun. On your mark, get set, go. As soon as you get there, start brainstorming.
Signing jobs. Sense of team that
What about peer tutoring?
Oh yeah, peer tutoring. We have in our school student.
We do too.
I missed yours.
I guess this is my power taking over.
I'm okay.
Like what kind of celebrations?
Don't like my writing.
No, I wasn't
That's
meaning
it.
you had to write them all. No, I wasn't meaning you had to write them all.
Please rotate clockwise to the next poster. Read what they wrote and keep going with it. Please.
What else? Fun.
Okay. Let's give yourselves a hand. Oh, wait. We need to do better than this. Here's a kind of applause you might like. It's called the fireworks applause. Do you know the fireworks applause? It goes, ooh, ah. So if you would join me, ooh, ah. What? This is validation because you're already doing a lot of this stuff. This is wonderful. I feel like I've died and gone to heaven. I'm going around here, I'm going, I think we need to move to Louisville. You're already doing so much. But maybe it's because you're the leadership teams in the Care for Kids schools, but you're already doing a lot. It's interesting, sometimes I'll do this activity and at the end, some of the posters, especially the power poster for some reason, don't end up with very many things on it. By giving kids power, not giving them power, they already have power, but by addressing their need to be recognized, to achieve, to have an impact, to be important, to be seen, have a voice, by doing that, you get more power back. A lot of teachers are afraid of giving power over to the kids. They think they're going to turn the asylum over to the inmates. But by providing kids with ways of meeting their power need, you actually become more empowered yourself. Okay, as Glenna promised, we'll have this typed up and distributed to all of you. I think we'll try to combine it with tomorrow's group too, so you'll get a plethora of activities you can choose from. Plus, you got the book with 189 other strategies that are meant to appeal to needs. I don't have the arrogance to believe that everything in my book is all you need to appeal to kids' intrinsic motivation. These are just the ideas that I could find at the time. I don't profess to to suggest that you do, that I'm the only one who has the way of meeting these needs. You've got millions of ideas, and my message is really just try to be intentional about it. At the end of the book, there's a unit plan that you can use to plan a unit so that you can be sure that during that unit you've addressed all the needs. It's called the I-5 unit plan. I don't want to talk about it too much now, but it's there for you as a resource if you choose to use it. If you want, if you're interested, I can send you an electronic template of that unit plan where you can just write it on, type it up on the computer and use it over and over, the template over and over to develop your own units. So again, email me, I'd be happy to send you the materials. Okay, so if we're intentional about meeting students' needs, the relationships improve, kids tend to be more engaged in the learning, and when they're more engaged in the learning, they're going to learn more, and their achievement is going to improve, their learning is going to improve. However, kids are like us, they're on a continuum. So I'm going to ask you to go back in your packet to second page, page 2. Okay, we're going to do, I need you to make eye contact with a partner sitting near you right now. Make eye contact with your partner. Somebody sitting near you right now. Okay. We're going to do an activity or two around extrinsic motivation, the dark side. The dark side of motivation, external motivation. Turn back, does anyone need a partner? Did anyone not have anybody looking back at them when they were staring? Got a group of 3? Okay, one group of 3 is okay. All right, just turn back to your partner and in 2 seconds, and I mean it, decide which one of you is partner A and which one of you is partner B. Go. 1001, 1002. Okay, all the A's. All the A's, raise your hand high in the air, please. All the A's, partner A. Okay, everybody all the A's got their hands up? Okay, make a fist with your hand in the air. Excellent. Okay, no skill deficits. Good, you can all make a fist. So here's the activity. It's called the fist, sometimes known as coerce me, baby. Okay. A's, you have a job. Your job, when I say go, is to make a fist and keep it closed for 1 minute, no matter what. No matter what B does. Your job is to keep that fist closed. A's, will you do it? Yes. Please? Okay, yes, good. B's, your job is to motivate your partner to open his or her fist using any means at your disposal within legal limits. So no assault, no sexual harassment, okay, no blackmail. But other than that, anything goes. Now, I do this activity with students. This is an activity I do as a foundational principle activity in the first chapter of the next book. This teaches kids who's responsible for their behavior. That's what it's about. But with kids, when I have kids do this activity, I have to give them 2 additional rules that I haven't given you. Number 1 is you can't touch the other person. I'm not going to give you that rule because you're responsible adults. Okay? So, but no assault. So with kids, you have to say you can't touch the other person. And also with kids, you have to give them a second additional rule because kids are born lawyers. Did you know that? They're born attorneys. They'll find any loophole that you give them. So if I've done this before, I've really had this experience where kids say, well, I didn't touch him, my pen did. So you can't, with the kids used to say, you can't touch them and you can't touch them with anything, like a brick or a baseball bat. So, but I'm not going to give you guys those rules. Are the rules clear? You have 1 minute. A's when I say go make a fist. B's get them to open it. If one thing doesn't work, try something else. Think about what you did to get what you wanted as a child from your parents. Think what you did as a teenager to get the car keys. Some of those strategies will work. Might work. Hopefully they won't. On your mark, get set. A's make a fist. B's get them to open it. Go. No, you caved. 15 seconds. Hang in there, A's. Okay, time's up. Relax those hands. Oh, look at this tack thing. Okay. How many of you Bs were successful in getting A to open his or her hand? I saw a few. How many Bs were successful in getting A to open their hand? 1. Raise them high. 2. Only 2. Only 2? Oh, okay, so 3 groups out of, I think, 25 pairs. Okay. What did you do to get it to be? You peeled their hand, a physical force. Physical force, that's the first thing. Okay, what happened over here? Okay, bribery, how much?
And the other one, I just told whatever's on first. So the other, there was another. I told her I'd give her sister to move out of her house.
Ah. So money and services rendered. Okay, so a couple of bribes. Who else was successful? There was another. How did you do it? Begging. Okay.
Actually, it was just a feel to reminding me of how much she does around this.
Ah, guilt.
Oh no, I just remembered how much I love having her.
Okay, all right. So, okay, that's so she kind of appealed to the relationship a little bit, and it reminded you of how important she is, and just all I'm asking you to do is open your fist. This is a pretty good list of the external motivators that we use to get people to do what we want them to do, whether it's our husband or our kids or our friends or our significant others or our students. We often use these fallback strategies, or not even, sometimes they're the first thing we go to. We might start off by simply asking. And of course, the fist is simply a metaphor for getting people to do what we want them to do. So we might ask, would you please open your fist? How many people just asked nicely? Only 3. We might just tell them, please extend your fingers and show me your palm. Very clear expectations. We might reward them. If you open your hand, I'll give you a sticker, or I'll give you money, or I'll clean your house out for you, or whatever it was. We bribe in lots of ways. We appeal to the relationship. Do it for me. You don't know the follically challenged guy. Do it for me. We're good friends. He's a Yankee. We might negotiate. You show me your palm, I'll show you mine. We might trick. Here, catch. We might use reverse psychology. Whatever you do, don't open your hand. Okay. We might guilt. This is what I call the mother strategy. After all I've done for you, I just want you to open your hand. If I were the A person, I'd open my hand for you. Okay. We might withhold affection. This is my mother-in-law's. Oh. I'm not your friend. I won't be your friend if you don't open your hand. That happens at all levels. Nagging. Open your hand. Open your hand. Open your hand. Open your hand. Oh, somebody was doing that over here. Open it. Yelling. Open your hand. I worked with a group of school leaders in Michigan. This was one of the funniest things. It was a summer retreat. When I said go, this intimidating woman stood over her partner and went, open. And the whole room went, please, just stop. We threatened, open your hand or I will hurt you. Criticizing, you look so dumb with your hand closed. Imposing consequences. How are you going to get home? I gave you a ride in. How are you going to get home today? We verbally attack. You don't have any free will. You're going to let him control you. We punish. No ride home for you. We humiliate. Sometimes we get into the heavy-duty stuff, physical intimidation, physical force. How many of these things do you see in schools? All of them? Hopefully you don't see too much of this, but I've seen it. Is there corporal punishment in Kentucky? There's still 24 states where it's legal. Oh, where can I go? The Board of Education. Okay. Please turn back to your partner and talk about what do we learn about external motivation from this contrived activity. But what are some generalities we can make about extrinsic motivation based on this activity? So talk to your partner about that for just a minute or so. Okay, what are some generalities we can make about extrinsic motivation based on this activity? Anybody? Ferris? Bueller? Bueller? What are some generalities we can make? Doesn't always work. Okay, none of them are guaranteed to work. You can say to a classroom, hey guys, if we all do well on this assessment, we'll have a pizza party on Friday. Hand goes up, I'm lactose intolerant. Not going to work for that kid. Or I used to use the assertive discipline stuff, and I'd say, you know, if we get if we don't have the marks on the blackboard at the end of the week, you get 10 minutes of free time. Kids are like, we have to be here anyway, who cares, you know? So it wasn't meaningful to them. So they're not guaranteed to work. What else did you say? Temporary, short term. If all you care about is compliance in the moment, go for it. But if you want long-term learning or motivation to occur, these don't necessarily work for that. Yes?
Oh, they stole mine.
They stole yours.
No, we said short term and not a long term thing.
Short term, yeah. Great minds think alike, that's all.
But I did speak of a time when a teacher, I can remember a teacher yelling at me, and it did change my behavior. But my partner said, you know, that might have worked for you because that's the way you are, and that, you know, you are a sense of belonger, or you can change because that's your motivator. Whereas for someone else, that might have been a power thing. I'm going to get her back.
Very good point. Discipline, it looks different for a power person than it does for a love and belonging person. What's going to work for those different people is going to be different. So it's got to be meaningful. If it's going to work, an external motivator is going to work only if it's meaningful to the person we're trying to motivate. So it's the meaningful. So extrinsic motivation, I believe, is truly an illusion. There is no such thing as extrinsic motivation because it always comes from within. If I'm opening my hand, who made me open my hand? You didn't make me do it. I chose to do it. Whether, you know, maybe you offered me $10,000, bing, meaningful. Okay, but if you said, you big bald-headed jerk, open your hand, you know, or if you don't open your hand, I'm going to smack you. But it always comes from within. Here's an example of that. If you offered me $100,000 to take off all my clothes and run around this building barking like a chicken, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I'll put that on tape. If you offered Bill Gates $100,000 to take off his clothes, run around the building, bark like a chicken, do you think he'd do it? Yeah. Only if he's some kind of weirdo. But no, he wouldn't do it because it's not meaningful to him. So it's always coming from within. Extrinsic motivation is an illusion. It's always coming from within. But anyway, what else did you say? Anything else? Yes?
It's like sometimes they look, you know, as we said, they work for the short term, they work, you know, for some kids, whatever. And I think we look at the behavior and then that, and we get the temporary, but then we never look at the side things that may be happening as a result of that. You know, all the sidebar kind of things that may be affected out of it.
And what are you teaching kids when you're doing this stuff in the right-hand column especially? What are you teaching kids? You're teaching them to do this. You're teaching them to do this. So you're just pushing that external control psychology on the world. Teaching them that you can make people do stuff, even though you know, really deep down, you can't make anybody do anything that they don't want to do, that they don't eventually choose to do. I have this conversation. After I do this activity with kids, they still don't want to admit that they have choices, that everything they do is a choice. But why? Well, first of all, they feel like they're constantly being controlled. They're being controlled by adults all the time. They feel like there's a lot of things that they have to do. So what I do then is I'll talk to them about, okay, kids, get in a group and write down all the things you have to do in a week, things that you feel like you have to do at home and at school. And they list all this stuff. So we put it on the board. And they'll have homework, and they'll have feed the dog, and they'll have, make my bed, clean my room, go to school, all this stuff. And I'll go through each one at a time and say, if someone chooses not to do these things, that means nobody has to. So has anyone in here ever not done their homework, I'll say, and the kids go, yeah. So you don't have to do your homework, cross it off. What's the consequence for not doing their homework? And they'll come up with a lot of extrinsic things. Well, I'll get punished, I'll get detention, I'll have to stay in off recess and do it anyway. And then some kid will say, oh, we won't learn as much. So there's reasons that we do our homework. You don't have to do it, but you do it either to avoid pain or to get something that you want, or maybe it's just to do it to learn. But there's always a consequence for your behavior. You do the homework, you learn more. You don't do the homework, you don't learn as much. Or you don't do the homework, you get detention. So there's a consequence to everything we do. Feed the dog, what happens if you don't feed the dog? Dog dies. A mom does it. Then you're learning a whole different thing. Not to be but if you want the dog to live, we feed the dog. So there's a consequence. And it turns out that everything is a choice except breathing, sleeping, and eliminating. Even eating is a choice. Some people, hunger strikes, Gandhi, anorexia and so forth. It's a choice. You only eat if you want to continue to live, but most of us do. So it finally gets through to them that everything is a choice, except breathing. And I'll say, do I have to pay my taxes? No, I don't have to pay my taxes. I pay my taxes because I love the way the government spends my money. No, because if I don't, there's an extrinsic reason for it. If I don't do it, I'll get a fine or go to jail or something. So it's important to get through to the kids that everything they do is a choice. And that I use the analogy of the car. You are a car. You're like a car because you're on the road of life. You're constantly making adjustments and changing lanes and making turns and making choices. But you have the keys to your car. Nobody can take your keys away. Now, sometimes we give our keys to people, and then I'll have the conversation, who do you give your keys to? Who do your parents give their car keys to? And it's usually each other, the spouses, or they may give them to the grandmother or a best friend or something. And the thing that they all have in common is they're trustworthy. We can trust those people. So we hand our behavioral car keys over to people that we can trust. Now, some people hand their behavioral car keys over to other people that they can't trust. My son would come home from school. Brandon did this to me today. Brandon made me cry. Brandon wouldn't let me play soccer. I said, Nate, who's driving your behavioral car right now? Brandon. Well, who would you like to be driving your car? Me. So can we figure out a way of some behavior you can use so that when Brandon is trying to take your car keys away from you, you remain in control? Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some cognitive things you can do or some behavioral things that you can think or do so that you'll be feeling more control when Brandon's trying to hurt your feelings. Because we often give our car keys to people that will hurt us, our behavioral car keys. Anyway, so I have that conversation with kids. And it's important that they understand that they are choosing their behavior, and because everything is a choice, that means everything is their responsibility too. So it helps them learn responsibility.
In the next video, John will continue his examination of external control and talk about how this coercive form of classroom management can negatively impact the effectiveness of your classroom management plan.